We begin, though, with another uptick in the number of COVID-19 cases in South Korea, even with all the antivirus restrictions we currently have in place. New infections are expected to be close to 6,000 on Thursday and perhaps even 7,000 plus by the weekend. With Omicron spreading fast, health authorities are encouraging people who have yet to do so to get their booster shots.
For more, we have our COVID-19 correspondent, Kim Yeon-seung, here in the studio with us. Good morning, Yeon-seung.
Good morning.
So like always, let's start with the local transmissions here in South Korea. We're expected to see another rise, right?
Exactly. So Thursday's new cases are expected to top 6,000. Up until Wednesday, 9 p.m., health authorities logged 5,249 cases. That's a jump of 400 cases from Tuesday night and 1,700 cases higher than the same time last week. The numbers are rising quickly, but they're expected to push even higher. Health authorities are expecting infection tallies to top 7,000 sometime tomorrow or this weekend.
So 7,000 cases would be a very sharp rise in a relatively short period of time. Are there concerns that we could be seeing record amounts of daily cases before too long?
It is certainly possible. The latest peak that we've seen in the country was on December 15th, and that tally stood around 7,850. With Omicron taking over to be the dominant strain, authorities are fully expecting cases to get even closer to that number or even surpass it. They say that in 3 weeks, 80 to 90% of infections will be from the Omicron strain. Daegu City, which has been the epicenter of the virus back in early 2020, is once again witnessing high numbers. It found more than 360 cases of infection in their area up to 9 p.m. on Wednesday, and it's the highest seen since March 2020.
Right, so authorities have pinned Omicron as one of the main reasons of the latest surge. So, Yeon-seung, tell us more about how Omicron is spreading like wildfire in many regions here in South Korea.
Well, in Gwangju, for example, Omicron, around 80% of their local cases have been found to be Omicron. The area's kindergartens, nurseries, and childcare facilities are closing their doors for 2 weeks starting from next Monday in response to this latest surge in infections. In Jeollado provinces, Omicron makes up close to 60% of the cases and has replaced Delta as the dominant strain. In Gyeongsang-buk-do province, Omicron makes up around 37% of the cases, and in Gangwon-do, it's at around 31%. Omicron is also quickly closing in on the capital region. Pyeongtaek City in Gyeonggi-do province found 90% of their analyzed local case samples to be Omicron. The area ordered an administrative order for military personnel in the area's U.S. Army base to get PCR tested.
So I guess that begs the question, what can people do at an individual level in a bid to try and stem the spread?
Right, so vaccinations are most important. Authorities cannot stress enough the importance of getting the third shot. In fact, some of the groups that have a relatively low rate of third doses of vaccinations are also seeing a rise in cases. For example, infections among foreigners have been rising since late December, and they make up around 14% of recent cases, even though they're only 3 to 4% of the total population. A little over a quarter of the foreign population have received a booster shot, which is comparably lower than the share among the domestic population who's gotten their third shots. The government says that the COVID-19 jabs are the best defense that we have on hand against Omicron, so we recommend everyone to get vaccinated.
So, Yeon-seung, speaking of vaccinations, we heard that the government is planning to change some rules on vaccine passes. Tell us more on that.
Right. So before I go on, I would like to mention that providing more leeway to vaccine passes does not mean in any way that they're trying to water down the importance of vaccinations. In fact, vaccinations still remain relevant and important. That being said, authorities are doing this to tackle inconvenience and confusion. So vaccine pass exemptions have been extended to people who couldn't complete their regimen because they've shown an adverse reaction or were hospitalized after the first dose.
But then hasn't that always been the criteria for people to be exempt from these particular vaccine pass regulations?
Right, so I can see the confusion, Mark, but the change that we're making here now is that before, causality had to be proven. So there needed to be solid proof between the adverse reaction and the vaccine in order for people to be exempt from the vaccine pass. But there were a lot of complaints here and there because it's really difficult to prove any causal link between the two. Now, the government accepts that a free pass is needed for people who showed a severe reaction or were hospitalized within 6 weeks of inoculation, even if they don't have a solid proof of a link to the vaccine. With this move, the free pass will be extended to roughly 12,000 to 17,000 people.
All right, Yeon-seung, thank you so much for the clear explanation. We'll talk to you again soon.